In the American criminal history, few names evoke the same shudder of fear and fascination as Ted Bundy. A charismatic enigma, Bundy's name has become synonymous with the darkest recesses of the human psyche, the place where charm and intelligence dance with brutal, sadistic urges. His seemingly dualistic nature, part promising law student, part heinous murderer, has left an indelible mark on the collective consciousness, serving as a chilling reminder of the insidious nature of evil. Early life and background. Born Theodore Robert Cowell on November 24, 1946 in Burlington, Vermont, Ted Bundy came into the world under unconventional circumstances. His mother, Eleanor Louise Cowell, was a young, unwed woman, and the identity of Bundy's father remained a mystery. In the 1940s, such circumstances carried heavy social stigma. To shield young Ted from the societal scorn associated with illegitimacy, Eleanor's parents took an unconventional step. They decided to raise Bundy as their own, letting him believe that his mother was in fact his older sister. This well-intentioned deceit created a complex web of secrecy and confusion that would mark Bundy's early life, potentially seeding the psychological turmoil that erupted later in his life. Growing up, Bundy exhibited charm and was noted for his good looks, traits that would later become instrumental in his sinister pursuits. His intelligence was evident early on, but so were signs of the chilling path he would embark on. As a child, he exhibited an unusual interest in the macabre, developing a fascination with knives and death. These early traits, though alarming, were not recognized for the danger they portended. The unsettling dual life. As Ted Bundy entered his college years, he chose psychology as his field of study. This choice proved to be a disquieting precursor to his later actions, as Bundy would go on to utilize psychological manipulation as a deadly tool. On the surface, he was the image of a successful student, intelligent, well-spoken, and charismatic. His classmates viewed him as engaging and personable, with no indication of the horrifying secret life he was beginning to cultivate. Bundy's charm wasn't merely a personal attribute, it was a weapon. He manipulated those around him, artfully using his charisma to win trust and draw people in. His outward persona was that of an approachable, considerate, and likable individual. However, beneath this beguiling exterior, a cold-blooded predator was gradually taking shape, biding its time before it would strike. The Reign of Terror. In the 1970s, America bore witness to a period of terror orchestrated by none other than Ted Bundy. His horrifying killing spree spanned multiple states, spreading fear and uncertainty in a seemingly unending wave. With each new report of a missing woman or a brutally assaulted victim, the chilling nature of Bundy's gruesome handiwork became evident. Bundy's crimes were not just acts of murder, they involved sexual assault and horrifying brutality, demonstrating a level of sadistic pleasure that was deeply unsettling. Each crime scene was a tableau of violence and degradation, highlighting the monster that Bundy had become. These acts of unadulterated savagery have since been etched into the annals of American criminal history, a grim testament to Bundy's reign of terror. The reach of Bundy's horrific spree was vast, and no woman in his path was safe. His modus operandi involved befriending, kidnapping, and ultimately brutally killing his victims. The level of premeditation and the calculated cruelty he displayed was a disturbing testament to the depths of his depravity. But even with the law closing in, Bundy's cunning and manipulation didn't fail him. Not once, but twice he managed to escape custody. These daring escapes only escalated the fear and paranoia that had gripped the nation. Bundy's ability to evade capture, to continue his spree despite being within the clutches of the law, was a chilling showcase of his intellectual prowess misapplied. Yet, despite his ability to elude law enforcement for a time, Bundy's reign of terror couldn't last forever. The long arm of the law would eventually catch up to him, leading to his final capture. The man who had cast a shadow of fear across the country was finally behind bars, putting an end to a chapter of terror that had held America hostage for far too long. The Ted Bundy saga served as a chilling reminder that beneath the veneer of charm and intelligence could lurk a terrifying monster. Final arrest and incarceration. Bundy's escapes from law enforcement only prolonged the inevitable. His final arrest in 1978 led to multiple trials where his chilling crimes were laid bare. Despite the overwhelming evidence, Bundy maintained his innocence for a long time, even representing himself in court. However, the jury remained unconvinced, sentencing him to death. The confession and final interview. In the twilight of his life, facing the impending inevitability of his execution, Bundy finally decided to shed some light on the dark mysteries of the past. In an unexpected turn of events, he confessed to having committed 30 murders. Yet, it was widely speculated by experts that this figure was just the tip of the iceberg, a mere glimpse into the true magnitude of his malevolent deeds. Many believe that the actual number of Bundy's victims was much higher, with some estimates even reaching triple digits. However, it was not the numbers that shocked those who listened to his confessions, it was the casualness with which he spoke of his heinous crimes, a chilling testament to his lack of remorse and empathy. Bundy's final interview, conducted by Dr. James Dobson, further exemplified his manipulative persona. Instead of showing remorse or taking full responsibility for his actions, Bundy employed deflection tactics. He attempted to shift the blame onto pornography and societal influences, claiming that they were the fuel that fed his uncontrollable urges. He portrayed himself as a victim of these external factors, as if he were merely a puppet being pulled by the strings of deviant stimuli. Bundy's attempt to link his violent tendencies to pornography was a strategic maneuver, an effort to divert attention from his own personal failings and psychological abnormalities. Instead of acknowledging the deep-rooted malevolence within him, he pointed towards the society, attempting to present himself as a byproduct of its dysfunctions. His claims, while provocative, were seen by many as a last-ditch attempt to humanize himself, to salvage some shred of sympathy before he met his inevitable end. But for those who had witnessed the horrors of his deeds, for those who knew the extent of his savagery, Bundy's words held little weight. His attempts to manipulate public opinion, to mask his monstrous nature beneath a layer of societal critique, were seen as just that, manipulations. His last interview is now regarded as a classic case study in manipulation and blame shifting, a desperate attempt by a condemned man to avoid responsibility for his actions. Despite his efforts, many were able to see through his ploys, recognizing the man behind the words for what he truly was, a ruthless killer with no remorse for his actions. It served as a stark reminder that even in his final moments, Bundy remained a master of deception, trying to manipulate the narrative in his favor. The execution and aftermath. As the clock ticked toward the early hours of January 24th, 1989, an air of grim finality enveloped Florida State Prison. This was the day Theodore Ted Bundy, one of America's most notorious serial killers, was scheduled to meet his fate in the electric chair. His demeanor remained eerily calm as he prepared for his final moments, a testament to the chilling disconnect between his outward charm and inner monstrosity. His final utterance to the world was a surprisingly tender sentiment, considering the severity of his crimes. He turned to his lawyer and a minister who were present at the scene and said, "Jim and Fred, I'd like you to give my love to my family and friends." These ironically gentle words were a stark contrast to the brutal violence and terror he had inflicted on so many innocent women throughout his gruesome reign of terror.